I've heard lots of students and entrepreneurs say that, like, burning midnight oil or spending all night, like pulling all nighters all the time, working super hard is like, I kind of worded it as like a badge of honor or something that's like, a big accomplishment or something like that. But are there any specific cognitive functions or something that goes on in your brain that's affected when you pull these all nighters?
So definitely, this is something that is very age dependent, right?
Mhm.
So I'll give you my example. I used to be a person who was a night person. I could stay up all
Yeah.
night and work or watch TV, movies. And you see that happen a lot when you're a teenager. So teenagers sleep a lot in the mornings, but they stay up all night and they can actually function, you know. And but what ends up happening is at that your brain is actually, um, if you think of your brain fibers and neurons and the different brain cells, if you think of it in terms of taking a scissor and pruning, you know how you have a hedge and
Yeah.
you're pruning. So even though your brain is developed until the age of 20, 22, your brain is kind of pruning. So it's kind of making connections and making things that are, so it's constantly changing itself. So you have a little bit of a leeway in that time period to do this to your brain, and it's going to adjust. The problem is whatever habits you make then are going to be habits that you're going to try to maintain for the rest of your life. It doesn't work because sleep is very, very important for your brain. And we know that from a lot of research that's been coming out. And what ends up happening is when you don't provide that refractory resting period to your brain, one of the first things that actually affects is vision. And by vision, I mean not just seeing things, is how you process what you think on everywhere. So
Yeah.
there's things that are called visual processing speed. So when you read something, your eyes are moving very, 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 very fast. You can't even see the movement. So when you don't sleep, that gets affected, which means your processing speed gets affected. And you tend to make mistakes that are very frontal lobe based. So
Yeah.
your executive decision gets hampered. So you may have a lot of knowledge base, you may have learned a lot, your conceptual knowledge is there. A lot of students try to learn, so they have what's called short-term memory, so it's
Mhm.
accessible. But think of it as a system that you have a short-term memory that's accessible, but at the same time, on top of it, you have the system that has to access. And that system that accesses can get really hampered by not having enough sleep. So burning the midnight oil at my age, I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was a teenager, I'm like, yeah, I took, all these, I stayed up all night and I was doing organic chemistry. Medical students do it all the time, grad students do it all the time, but it's not very good. And if you kind of stay on top of it from the beginning, you don't really have to do that.